a big deal if we talk about Myntra, Flipkart. Let's go across. We've got our storyboard editor Anant Rangaswamy talking with Sachin Bansal there.
Be more fashion oriented. This Myntra becomes a destination for them, and they see that as a destination for us. We get to own a larger share of the market.
What do you gain from this, Mukesh?
Yeah, so we have very clear vision of establishing Myntra as the largest fashion destination in the country, and also building new original fashion brands. This acquisition allows us to accelerate our roadmap. We get access to Flipkart's technology platform, Flipkart's entire supply chain capabilities in more than 200 cities, access to capital. So we are just able to execute our roadmap much faster, which in turn will make us a more dominant player in the fashion space.
Okay, you said the word access to capital. You have some common investors, both of you, common large investors. Was anything provoked by them, or did conversation start because of either of them?
No, absolutely not. In fact, the conversation is mostly between Flipkart and Myntra management team. As we looked into deeper and deeper into the merits of acquisition, we got convinced at some point that this is really a game-changing acquisition. It will be very historic in how e-commerce landscape is evolving, and puts both companies in a much stronger position to go after much more ambitious agenda, which obviously will benefit shareholders much more than it would have if you were to go on an independent path.
Right. So the two different models that you have, for example, you have a marketplace model, you have a hybrid model. How will we see those play out? Are they going to be Flipkart doing business as usual and Myntra doing business as usual?
Largely, it will be doing business as usual for both the companies. We don't want to change anything that disrupts the customer experience in any way. We also don't want to change anything which changes things for the employees as well. Because as part of the acquisition, employees are the most affected lot generally. We want to make sure that employees continue on the path that they have been continuing. This acquisition is not happening in a distress. It is happening because of the strength that both companies have, and it will be a shame if any of the strengths go away after the acquisition. So we want to make sure that both companies continue on the same path and continue the way they were building. Myntra should continue to build the brand the way it was building. Flipkart should continue to build the fashion retail space or fashion marketplace that we were building in the same way.
Right. Now, an obvious question: what is the Amazon growth got to do with this decision for you to come together?
Of course, as a competitive. If you look at this transaction, actually from a competitive landscape point of view, be it Amazon or anybody else in the market, in general, from a competitive point of view, it places us, as a Flipkart group, it places us in a very strong position now. We believe fashion is the next frontier of e-commerce. Fashion is going to be the biggest category of e-commerce in the next few years. Fashion is not just going to be the biggest category in terms of transactions, but it will be probably the most dominating category when it comes to profitability, for example. This transaction allows us to play in a much larger space in the fashion retail and become a very dominant player in the fashion space. So we at Flipkart have always believed in making sure that we don't want to be number two in any space, any category that we operate in, whether it's books or electronics or music or any other thing. So we don't want to be number two. This helps us become a clear number one with much more advantage.
What is the combined fashion business? The two businesses combined, what are we looking at?
I think combined fashion business, immediately as soon as the transaction is completed, we are looking at more than 50% market share immediately, right, for the two businesses in the e-commerce space. So that kind of already puts us ahead, but we believe that it also puts us in a position where we can actually build upon it and gain 60-70% even more market share over time.
Right. Both of you, starting with you, Mukesh, what are your views on FDI now? It's going to be a very large part of your thinking and your planning.
See, a lot of the e-commerce growth so far have been funded by foreign investment, right? So with the marketplace model, FDI is allowed, and that's how all of us have been operating. So that is really not a consideration for us. As a group, we are well funded, for all our plans, and we believe the e-commerce sector is already set in great shape.
Yeah. No, actually, to add to that, FDI in e-commerce is actually allowed. Has more than $3 billion of FDI has flowed into the country for e-commerce in the last few years, and what happens is that because of this joining hands with Myntra, as a group, our ability to raise funds has gone up quite a bit. and it's become much more attractive for an investor, much more safer options for an investor now. So which we believe that it's going to help us in attracting more investment.
Twice in the last few minutes you used the word Flipkart Group. Are we going to see more usage of that phrase, or is it something that just slipped in?
No, of course. So I'll tell you. So we are a little bit inspired by Alibaba over here. We believe that we have an opportunity to not just create a lasting e-commerce company. We can actually create e-commerce ecosystem itself, which will not happen until we play in multiple dimensions of e-commerce and not. We are right now pretty linear with Flipkart.com. We have started taking the first few steps outside of that linear domain by opening up our logistics and opening up our payments as a platform to other people. That allows us to play in a broader spectrum of e-commerce ecosystem and not just selling products. So we want to be, we kind of are inspired by Jack Ma of Alibaba and want to.
So are you listing in the US as well, if you're looking at Jack Ma and so on?
Again, listing is something that we definitely want to do at some point of time. At some day we will be a public company. I mean, in fact, we dream of that. We definitely want to be. We don't know when exactly.
Right. But again, coming back, Alibaba's ambitions are going outside China. It's not limited to China.
Yeah.
They're also looking further
in US,
further west, including here. You know, so does that bring a new player in the works here? Do you factor that in your competitive sort of strategies?
No, we will. I think we have deep respect for them, definitely, and if we have to compete with them, we will compete with them, if it comes to that.
Right.
Yeah, I will also look at almost differently. You know, there are a lot of capabilities and expertise we are building in India, which are probably, you know, can be applied globally at some point, especially the kind of brands we are going to be building, you know, at Myntra. At some point, we want to take it, you know, beyond India. So I think everything we are doing here, especially in the mobile space, how we're building fashion brands, how we're combining fashion technology, is, you know, world class. And at maturity, it will have applicability a lot beyond India. So we'll mature it, bake it in India at some point, you know, start to apply in our neighboring markets, you know, who knows, other markets. So our ambition as a group will be to be very competitive at a global scale.
Sure. Now, you know, you've got Flipkart as a brand, you've got Myntra as a brand, you've got a whole lot of sub-brands, and, you know, you're going to have to protect them, build them all simultaneously. That's a huge task. And, you know, you want Myntra to be clearly a separate identity.
Right, absolutely.
Managing two brands, two mother brands, and then, you know, whole lot of...
So long-term value creation comes by brand ownership. You know, that's a big part of what we do. We are, you know, we have been building and will continue building a very powerful brand building engine, especially again in fashion brand space. You know, this whole market is really blue ocean market. There is very shallow penetration of brands. We believe, you know, we can build brands today, you know, which can compete with likes of Levi's and Benetton's and be the largest brands in their own right with independent identity. So yes, it requires, you know, very deep design expertise, very deep marketing and brand building expertise, but that's where, you know, combined synergies will allow us to do that in a very sincere and a deep way.
Right.
All right, that's the Bansal and Bansal wedding that took place today, the Flipkart and Myntra merger, if we may call it so.